Welcome to our math series titled Entering the Unknown. In our last video, we were introduced to t-tables and how effective they were at tracking and organizing data. We also learned that the number of Puddlewizzits, a make-believe but interesting animal, were increasing by 1 each day, but the number of Snopes were decreasing by 4. The real question we asked, though, was there not an easier way to record mathematical expressions instead of using long sentences and, frankly, difficult to spell creature names? We found in our existing t-table that many patterns existed. In chart 1, you will remember that the number of Puddlewitzes were increasing by 1 each day. We wrote that as the number of Puddlewitzes are increasing by 1 starting at 4. However, I am getting a little tired of spelling correctly the word Puddlewizzits and having the computer tell me I'm wrong each time. So I would like to use something called a variable. Now, what is a variable? A variable is a symbol for a number that we do not know yet. For instance, if we wanted to know how many apples were at the apple orchard, I could write a full sentence and use the word apples, or I could use a symbol, like drawing an apple, or I could even make it easier and just write a letter, like the letter A. So every time I talked about apples, instead of writing the word or a symbol, I could just write a letter A. So back to our chart. If we go back to our chart and we look at the Puddlewitzes, instead of writing out this sentence, we could simply replace the word Puddlewizzits with a letter. In this case, we're going to use the letter P. And instead of writing the word increasing, we're going to use addition sign. And obviously, it's increasing by 1, so we'd put the 1 there. So instead of writing out this whole long sentence, we can replace this with a mathematical expression using a variable, P plus 1. That is telling us that the number of Puddlewitzes are increasing by 1 each day. If we were going to go and look at our Snopes, we could do the same thing. Again, we look at our t-table and we realize that the number of Snopes are decreasing by 4. So the number of Snopes are decreasing by 4 starting at 16. Again, we want to go back and replace that word Snope with a variable. So our obvious choice here is to use the letter S. And instead of writing an addition sign, we are not increasing anymore, we are decreasing. And we are going to say that by using a subtraction sign. So we are saying the number of Snopes are decreasing by 4. Again, we took that long sentence and replaced it with a simple mathematical expression using a variable. Now, as we know, creating and developing patterns is a great math trick, but what's the point? In our case, we would like to go back to our chart and be able to predict how many Puddlewizzits will there be on day 16. Will we still have these mysterious creatures to enjoy? Will their numbers still be increasing? In order to do this, we will need to find a more complex pattern than the ones we have already found. We need to find what exists between the number of days and the number of Puddlewizzits. We will need to make an equation with this information. Stay tuned to learn about equations and how they will help us predict the future of our Puddlewizzits.